Hello from Gardening at Dwensa here in Ireland, and several people have asked me about my catasetums, so this is a very brief catasetum update. So today we're back in the plant room to have a look at my catasetums, and I just want to preface this video by saying that this was my first year learning to grow catasetums, 2016. It has been a learning process and I've learned lots, and I just want to share with you the successes and failures, and I must say it really has been mostly failures, but I have most of my plants still alive, and do you know what? I'm taking that as a success. I made a number of videos this year on catasetums and they're all numbered, and you can find them by looking up project plant or catasetum update and you can chart my progress exactly. But the one piece of advice that I will give everyone in regard to growing catasetums, especially in the temperate zone in countries where there's less light, is that when you start, please start with a less costly catasetum. Start with a cheap one because you'll learn a lot from the first one you grow, and if you make mistakes, which you're very likely to do, then let it be with one that didn't cost you as much. So on we go, and the first thing you'll notice from this display in front of you is that there are a lot of yellowing leaves and sad looking catasetums, and actually that's the way it is. Catasetums are deciduous, they go into dormancy, and my plants have started to go into dormancy, which you can see from the yellow leaves over here on this one. So that's perfectly normal at this stage in the year. I've stopped watering completely now at this stage, but that raises a few questions, which I'll go through with you when we have a look at the individual plants. And I guess the best place to start is at this one here at the front. And this was the project plant that a number of us from a Facebook group decided to buy and decided to grow together and just see what the results would be. Now, mine is still in leaf, but I've completely stopped watering at this stage. And this particular cross, it's an unnamed one. There we go, that's what it is. And the fun of this would be that each person who participated in the project might get a plant with slightly different flowers because it's seed grown, so that's kind of exciting. Now, the first thing I'll say is that I over-potted my catasetums. I put them in too big a pot. I won't go into the reasons why. It had a certain logic at the time. I definitely put them in pots that were too big. So the first correction I'll make for next year's growing is that I will put them in much smaller pots. As you can see, my project plant has produced 2 growths this year with 2 resultant pseudobulbs. And neither this one, which is quite small, or this one is as large as this previous pseudobulb, which is an indication that the plant didn't get what it wanted, and I'm hardly surprised since it took so very long for these guys to spring into growth for me at all. Okay, so I'm just kind of waiting for this one to go into dormancy at the moment. I'm not watering and I'm waiting for those leaves to yellow and to fall, and then to just store it dry until spring. The next plant I want to share with you is this fantastic Fredclarkeara that was gifted to me by another YouTuber, by John from the Orchid Dude channel, and the name of this is loddigesii. I'll put the names of all these plants and the details in my video, and it has started to go into dormancy. I stopped watering it, and then this new growth popped up. Now, it seemed like a small seedling, but I was momentarily hopeful that this would be a flower spike. However, if we look down here at the base, you can just see that there are some roots forming there, which is unlikely for a flower spike. Not impossible, but unlikely. And actually, if we look at it here, you can kind of tell it's going to be a new pseudobulb from the way it's thinking about leafing out. So since this plant is making a new growth, the fact that I've stopped watering it isn't the best idea. Not quite sure what to do here, but what I thought I'd do is imagine that this plant is finished its dormancy, So as this new growth progresses, when it gets a certain number of roots and begins to leaf out, I'll start watering again. I'm assuming that the root on the rest of the plant is gone because, you know, catasetum roots don't really last till the second year. So I'm only going to look at the new roots and determine from that when to restart watering. I just want to say again that this is what I surmise from what I see in front of me. I'm no expert on catasetums, so, you know, if you have experience growing them well, please do jot your comments down below. Right, now we move on to the to the disasters, to the ones that have died or nearly died. And here we're looking at, this is a Cycnodes or a Cycnoches, a cross here, with that gorgeous Catasetum pileatum. It started out with a new growth early on in the season, and the new growth died, but then I was really delighted because it sent out a second new growth and it grew all summer. And then somewhere around about autumn, I guess what happened was I didn't stop watering quickly enough and I managed to rot the new growth. There it is. So that's gone. So any benefit of this summer has been completely lost to this plant. Now the rot seems to have stopped. I haven't lost the old pseudobulbs, the previous two old pseudobulbs. So basically I'm back to square one. So yeah, okay. I won't worry about this one. And the other plant that has not done well for me has been, oh yes, I'm ashamed to say this. This is Catasetum Wine Delight, and I received a small back bulb, which I managed to get to grow a new growth, and it was working on a pseudobulb. And near the end of the summer, for reasons I do not understand, I came in one day and the new pseudobulb had just collapsed. Now I can't imagine it was overwatering because this was not in autumn. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to that. I still have the old pseudobulb, but yeah, I'm not hopeful. Okay, so now looking at the two plants at the back, and we'll say a little bit about them. And perhaps this is another lesson to learn. The ones that are doing well are the ones that were bigger and more established to start with. So if you're new to growing catasetums, you really need to start with something that's big enough, cheap enough, and easy enough. And one of the ones that's considered quite easy to grow is this one here, which is a fimbriatum, so Catasetum fimbriatum, or any of the cultivars with that species name would be a good one to grow. And what happened was, somewhere around the end of summer, I managed to rot all the roots off this, which seemed like a big deal at the time. I mean, what it meant basically was that the plant, well, it stopped getting nourishment, so couldn't really progress the new pseudobulb any further. But now we're into dormancy, so, you know, it really doesn't matter that much. Now you can see from this plant that the leafy green pseudobulb there is the new one, and it is much smaller than the previous one, and that's just an indication of the fact that I haven't grown this very successfully. In large part due to the fact, I think, that we don't have a lot of light here in Ireland, or not sufficient light for catasetums. Okay, so this is doing well, and I think there are little eyes I can see. Can you see that there are some dormant eyes here at the base of the new pseudobulb? So I imagine they'll kick into growth at the beginning of next year. The back bulbs look quite dehydrated, but at this stage I'm afraid to give the poor plant any water for fear that I rot it, which is so easy to do. So that's that plant. And the other one, which is in the same state, managed to rot the roots off at well, I suppose the summer. So it has no roots now at this stage, and that is the new pseudobulb you see in front, which I managed to grow this year, 2016, last year I guess it is. Less big than the previous two, but with dormant eyes down the base, which we perhaps can see. So yeah, I guess that's doing okay. I'm just waiting for it to go properly dormant now and to lose its leaves. And that would be the end of my Catasetum update, but I have quite a surprising development. And some of you may recall that I flowered a Galeandra, not last year, the year before last, and I'll put a little link to that video up above. But Galeandra is in the same family as Catasetums and Fredclarkeara, which is a cross, and Cycnodes, Cycnoches. So it has to be treated in the same way. Now, I don't take a lot of credit for flowering the Galeandra because it arrived to me in spike or almost in spike. So it was due to no skill of my own. But I managed to rot the poor plant during the year. And I don't know if you recall, in one of my previous updates, I had discarded this. I'd thrown it to the side. I managed to rot the base of the pseudobulb, had to cut it off, applied some cinnamon, and you know, the thing is so bloomed small. This is a very small plant, the Galeandra, so you know, this was a flowering size plant. I discarded it and had given up on it. Let's see if we can see this. Can you see that very small growth sticking out of the side of the Galeandra? Now, I am assuming that this is a flower spike. The plant is flowering size, right? It has flowered before, and I think that's a flower spike. Now the pseudobulb is shriveling a good bit at this stage. Again, scared to water this, that I might rot it, because it has no roots at this stage to absorb water, right? So yeah, what I might do is just put these plants on a humidity tray. But I am just intrigued to see what this poor little plant will do. One thing can be said, it's a fighter, definitely a fighter. And somebody asked me for an update on the Galeandra, so there you go. That is really surprising. Okay, so those are my Catasetums, and that was my update on the Catasetums. Take from it what you will, learn from my mistakes, and if you're lucky enough to live somewhere that has plenty of heat and plenty of sunshine, then do grow these plants, but don't take advice from me. That's all for now. Bye.